I've decided on a name. I don't know whether I've mentioned it before, but I've decided that out of the same sort of vein that I had Trinity Road out in the shed rather than Trinity Street because it was a kind of homage to, I've decided that with this, because it's not going to be an accurate model of Tyneyard, never in a million years, so instead of calling it Tyneyard and having people go, oh yeah, but that's not right, this is not right, I thought that I'd call it Weir Yard, as in after the River Weir, because there's the River Tyne, the River Tees, both of those have big marshalling yards named after them, the Tyne Yard, Tees Yard, so this is going to be Weir Yard, with a lot of DNA of Tyneyard. Back here in the loft, it's going well. There's a complicated piece of woodwork you can see going in there, making full use of the fact that my circular saw that's over here is actually able to cut angles. You can set it to cut some very nice neat angles. So that has enabled this corner piece to be made relatively easily. So always well worth getting tools that really just make your life easier. I've still got another cross piece to go in the back there. It's quite a complicated piece here on account of having to fit in around this protrusion. It's a good word, write it down, use it more often in everyday conversation. And I still need to finish the wood panelling on there. Still need to paint a lot of stuff. That's something else as well that's going to be a bit of a bind. In fact, once I get a lot of this baseboards down, I might just set on with a paintbrush. I need to do a lot of blue. And then I've also got to do the baseboards in brown. I do like to paint the baseboards, firstly to seal them, and secondly so that I've got a base coat, so you know it doesn't show through as just bare wood wherever you miss little bits or where it chips. So that's the plan. Also helps with the ballast as well, I may add. Right, I'm going to get on there. So I just thought I'd show you a little bit of progress, but we're just going great guns. I've got track on order. Quite apart from the points that Derry has been sourcing for me. Didn't get quite as many yesterday because the shop in Oswestry was shut that was holding 30 points for me. Apparently they were away at a show of some description. So what I'm going to do is I've ordered the plain track from a well-known box shifter. But as you know, I'm not commercially affiliated with any of the major retailers or even any of the minor ones or the manufacturers. So I can tell you exactly what I think about anybody, but I'm also polite and ever so British, so I'm not rude for the sake of it. But anyway, I've ordered 50 yards of Pico Code 100 Streamline track, the flexible track, and I also took the opportunity to order up 3 brand new points as well, of a particular type that I haven't been able to source second hand, which I need. They're the very small Y-shaped points. So they should be coming, along with some DCC chips. I thought I'd put in an order to try and hardwire some more of the older Hornby locomotives. So that's where we're up to. This corner's looking pretty good now. I've done all that panelling, panelled around there, and fitted in all these nice pieces. Now, this piece over here is not yet screwed in because I've still got to do the lower section. Same reason the triangular piece is not screwed in. But test fit, brilliant. Everything's working out nice. And then I've started work over into the corner, and you can see the frame all coming together. That's been really hard work over there. But it's getting there. I've got some more cross pieces to put across here, here, another one over there. And there'll be a few little infill bits, and then I can start putting the top of the baseboard on. So 8 foot by 2 foot piece down the back there, and we'll just see how we get on. In terms of wood that's left, I've got a load of 4 foot by 2 foot pieces, some 8 foot by 1 foot pieces, there's 2 there, and over here I've got 2 8 foot by 2 foot pieces. So I think I've about got enough to pretty much complete the top in here, but as is always the case, still yet to finish off some of the panelling up here. So I can get another sheet at some point. But I'm going to just use up what I've got, try and get the baseboards done, and then I want to try and get a coat of paint on, so that when the track comes, I'm in a position to actually start laying. And I want to get the main lines in. They'll go right the way around the backs there, and that will give me the provision for 2, maybe 3 trains at once to just keep on running. And then I can get to work on the sidings area of the marshalling yard. And there's also going to be a small locomotive depot down here, just like there was at Tyne Yard. One of the things I've been enjoying is watching old Grand Prix that are saved on the computer down here. So something that I can have just running in the background. I've got the speakers wired up there. They're not very good speakers. I think they were like £10 from a supermarket a great many years ago. They've been out in the shed, now they're in here. They'll do the job for the time being, but I'm thinking a proper amp and speakers at some point in here wouldn't go amiss. That monitor is probably going to move somewhat. I'm not happy with its positioning because it's taking up a lot of space. But again, you know, it's all an evolving process, so let's crack on and see where we get. Baseboards are nearly done. Got right up into that corner. Fitting in around that post, I thought that was going to be really hard, but it turned out actually to be fairly easy. I've just got a little bit to do there where the light bulb is. Round here, I've got the ramping up to the higher level. That's all in. The scenery will go in around that, so it won't look quite so weird. And then also we're going to have a feed which will go across here, across a bridge, across one of the lines, and then there'll be an incline down here, which I'll probably use the Scenecraft risers. I think it's Scenecraft. My friend Brian has said that they're pretty good. They're a bit expensive, but they do the job. So I'm inclined to make use of them for that, just to make sure the job's done right. Everywhere else, that's not secured, but that's because I've got to finish off the track underneath. We've got all down this side, and the ramp up from the lower level, that's still to be done, and that's going to come in here underneath, over the top. So I'm hoping that's not too steep, but we'll see how it goes. I might have to cut a little bit out from underneath there, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to try and get this finished, and then maybe try and start doing some of the painting. There's a lot of painting to do. Got some of the blue done and fitted in, and boy was that hard work. Ideally it probably needs another coat. You can see on the video it doesn't quite cover, and getting down into that corner proved almost impossible. But you know, it's just better than bare wood, I guess. So yeah, I'm happy. It brightens the room up a little bit, so it's all good. And I've also managed to get up and do that board there. I've done these uprights too. The reason for this is because they go down and into and actually through the model. I thought I want them an unobtrusive colour, about as unobtrusive as possible, so paint them in the sky colour. Not really anything we can do about these. I don't want to remove them because, well, they're sort of structural. Anyway, I'm not messing about, so just left them be. And they're attached to roof spars. That one, and there's another one over there already painted up. So they're actually quite a good anchoring point for parts of the layout. So yeah, it's pretty good going. I'm pleased with the progress. And what I'm actually working on now is the ramp that's going to go down from here and down to the lower level. And what I've discovered, it's probably obvious to anybody watching and should have been obvious to me, is that it was a little bit too steep to be able to get down and dive underneath this beam. So what I've done is I've sort of done a drop piece. So if I get round, the lighting's not great because of where the light is, but I've put almost like a U-shaped piece. There's a lot of screws in there to try and keep it rigid so that this baseboard doesn't droop. I think I've about managed that, and I will put in some more bracing at a later date once the ramp's in. So I've cut the piece. I've got a spare piece of plywood, and I've got a cutout there, which is, if I can, it's very difficult to do this one-handed. You can see that fits in around there. I may need to just trim out just a little bit more. That's tight in there, but it's up against the edge. And then it should give me just enough of an angle that the trains will go underneath here. So I'm going to go ahead now and try and just get that fitted in. And I'm going to use the natural bendiness of the 6mm ply to give a sort of a transition gradient at the top and the bottom. And that should allow me to get down to that level over there, and possibly even have at a later date some kickback sidings underneath all of this. I brought back in from the shed some more of the salvage track, and this is what I'm going to be using down here. It's perfectly serviceable, had trains running on it right up until when the Garden Railway was scrapped, so there's nothing wrong with this track, it's just really messy. And I'm going to use that as the basis of the sidings, as I have been doing over there. So I'm going to stop talking to you for a bit and I'm going to crack on, but the magic of editing means that you will instantly see the progress. You're back here now, and like I said, for you it's just an instant, but I've been hard at work for a couple of hours now, just measuring carefully, working it all out. And what you're seeing here is the edges. It isn't as flimsy as it looks, because you're looking at that and you're thinking, wow, it's just a piece of plywood. But it is braced underneath, so it's grand. And the gradient isn't actually too severe, just the very top bit that's probably a little bit of a hump, but the rest of it is absolutely fine. So I'm going to put a point somewhere on here, and that's going to just ease up with having to put point work down there, which is proving a bit of a difficult fit, but I've got the corner piece in. Again, it is braced underneath, even though from this angle you can't see it. But yeah, we're getting there. I'm going to now move on to doing a little bit of track laying, and it shouldn't, hopefully, famous last words, shouldn't take too long, but I'm just going to get the track down there and try and get this lower section laid at least as far as this ramp, and then I can fasten the baseboards on the top. I'm looking forward to that. Well, it's been a few hours because I'm pretty eager to get this right first time, and the track work now extends up the ramp to there. Got the first point on the ramp, splits in two, round here another point, splits to three, another point, another 2 points, splits to 5, and that's the hidden sidings. All the track is secured down, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to temporarily wire up, I'll wire up probably my DC controller to it, and I'll run a train through. The points aren't wired up, but they're ready to be wired up. And I'll be the first train to actually run up here, and it'll also prove that the sidings work okay. I'll probably shunt that rake of 16-ton minerals through, just to make sure that nothing untoward happens, no major problems with clearances, nothing major with a piece of track throwing everything off. So there we go. There will be some edges put on this eventually, but right now what this means is if this all works, I can fix the baseboards on the top, and then in turn I can start the main track laying for the main circuits up on the top. Well, this is it was easier just to get the DCC set up, and actually it might be quite nice to use a sound fitted loco. So this one just fires up the moment it goes onto the track. See, like that with the sound. And have a look. Right on. There we go. Set for the right direction. Let's just see where it goes. Now it may stutter on some of the points because they're not they're insul front, but not through wire. So essentially, it's not getting a reliable power feed. So I've still some wiring left to do. And again, we've got a problem with, because there's no power feed to the end of the sidings, it's having a little bit of an issue with the power getting across the points. Apparently there's a bit of an issue there. But you can see we're kind of getting there. Again, just poor contact because nothing's properly wired up. I just got. This is what happens if you just twist two wires together and stick it on some track and try and run DCC. So that old chestnut of a myth doesn't actually hold true, but proof of concept seems to work. Well, got the top on there, and over here started to put down the main track work. I've started from over here. It's going to be the key point because the outermost track, there's only going to be a couple of points in total on it, and this is one of the places. You might also recognise the scissors crossing that I made in a video a couple of years ago now. It sat languishing, waiting for this moment, and would you believe it, the reason that there's a surface mounted point motor there when all the other ones are sub baseboard mounted is because the typical thing happened, which is that point motor lined up right where the cross member was, slap bang on that cross member. So that's going to have to be hidden in a line side hut, something like that. It's something that you can get, I think the Ratio do a little kit of a concrete line side hut. So we're going to have a few of those knocking about if that's something that's going to happen a lot. I'm going to try and avoid that. It's obviously something that's well worth trying to avoid. But couldn't help it in this particular location. You can see from the pen marks I've tried various other locatings of the track, but what we're going to see through here is actually three main tracks on that lower level. The fourth main track is going to be up here somewhere coming through, which would be the down main slow or something like that. Just bear in mind, this is not going to be an accurate model of Tyne Yard. Moreover, it's my usual thing, homage to Tyne Yard, but with the track plan radically altered to fit the space and my requirements, which is why I'm going to be calling this layout Weir Yard. So there we go. That little gap there, yeah, don't bother trying to tell me what I already know. There's going to be a bridge there, and the track is fairly well self-supporting in this gauge. So the bridge will be inserted underneath afterwards. I do actually somewhere have a kit that I bought a number of years ago, which is going to form the basis of that, which is an occupational bridge with stone abutments. That's going to be the double track bridge, and then I'll probably get a single track one of these as well to go next to it. So we'll have double track and single track. Looking forward to getting all that in. And starting to do the scenery at some point. But I think getting the three main lines that go around on this level done first is probably advisable. Get them running, play with some trains, and then I can dabble at leisure. So, unfortunately, there was a problem with some of the point work that I was getting. Derry had sourced 30 points for a really good price, and the model shop let him down. They actually gave his points that he paid for away to somebody else, so he did get a refund, but obviously we're now left in the lurch. So I'm using what I've got available, and there is actually a fair amount available, and I bought 3 new points down there. So you know, I'm not absolutely starved of stuff, and obviously underneath there I've got a load of points in as well. But I'm very, very rapidly going to have to start dismantling Bolton Trinity Road. So the idea there is that I'll be doing that sooner rather than later. I'll do a video, farewell to Trinity Road. But the phoenix that rises from the ashes will be that it will give up all of its track work and other stuff besides electrics as well to be able to finish off this layout. So it's all going to a good cause. So we're up here and made great progress. It's coming up on 8 o'clock, so it's about all I'm going to do for the day. Now, if you're wondering about this point over here, then this is going to be to access an industrial premises. And on the real tiny yard, there was some kind of a feed out into a factory unit partway along the yard. But I've actually been in that factory unit. It's now part of BAE Systems, or at least it was about 10 years ago. And you can always see when you go past on the train where the access was, although there's no trace of the track or anything. But I want to build this with that access in place, just for a little bit of interest. So the pointer's gone in. There's a motor on there. Again, not wired up yet. That's yet to be done. But I've got a rake of 5 LNER teaks. They're the Super Detail Hornby ones. And I'm just using them, pushing them around, just to make sure that the radius is right and that we're not getting any random derailments. Now, there's a huge area in that corner that's going to be something scenic, probably build that up as some kind of a hillside. Just really, because otherwise that's awkward space. And I don't believe in shoving track into every square inch, because it just starts to look a bit silly. So I'm quite happy for this to be a more scenic area over here. There's obviously 3 more tracks to go around, one of which will be slightly elevated for at least part of the way round. So over there is my my scenic area, I guess, you know, with rolling countryside. That's the idea behind over there, and I've got round to there. Now, mind the O-gauge track, that's going to be going underneath somewhere on a little shelf just for testing O-gauge locomotives up here. But that track's going to feed around. Again, there'll be another scenic feature right over in that corner, because there's not really any means to make use of it otherwise. Coming around here and then join back up with the end of the track. It'll probably take me a couple of hours to lay the track, get everything right, and then start running trains. I just don't want to do that now. Approaching 8 o'clock at night, there's a lot of noise when I'm hammering away, so I don't want to disturb the neighbours doing that. So that's pretty much where I'm up to. Still enjoying the Grand Prix. I think we're at the 2010 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix at the moment. This computer, for whatever reason, has duplicate copies of some of the more recent ones. The same more recent, I think from 2009 through to 2014, I think, are the Grand Prix which are currently sat on this. So it's just been nice to have something going on in the background. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. Not watched them with close scrutiny, but certainly yeah, dipping in and out, quite enjoying it. Back up here today, and probably the most visible progress at the moment is I've finally got underlay down, and you probably see my horrible great big holy socks. I can now walk around up here without my shoes on, because this kind of keeps down the dust. The floorboards are terrible for that. No matter how much I sweep and brush them, the dust just keeps coming back. And my father gifted me a piece of carpet, actually, as well, he was going to throw out. Not big enough to really do much. I'm going to get one of these £10 offcuts from the local carpet shop, which will be big enough to do up here. It's certainly a good top tip, is check your local carpet shop, and you can sometimes get a piece of carpet that's just like an end of roll or something left over from a job that they'll sell you quite cheaply, but it's perfectly good carpet and it might fit your needs. Currently I'm watching the 2006 Hockenheim Grand Prix, so we're going back on the rewind, and the track laying has come along really well. So follow around here, and over by the light, that is the last piece left to go in. All the rest is done. So I'm going to quickly get that last piece dropped on in. I've got the piece measured up here from a piece of offcuts. These are actually came out of the display cabinets. I replaced the Pico Code 100 streamline track that was in the display cabinets with Hornby 00 tin plate 3-rail track because there was just so much of that knocking about with no use for it. And the Pico stuff, it saved me a lot of money. So I've done that. I'm going to get that dropped in, and then it's time for the first train to run up here. Well, I've got all of my LNER liveried teak coaches on there. I do quite like them. And I've coupled it with one of my newest locomotives, DCC fitted with sound. We covered that in the review video. But let's see now, will it run? So, first of all, well, that's a good sign. Wow, seem to have a derailment, but it's just that coach. So, not quite sure why it's done that. Everything else is on the track okay. So, let's possibly run it round just a little bit slower. But certainly, it's going round. The first train is running in the loft. Well, if you don't count the 37 I tested the sidings with. Seems to be a little bit of an issue with that sleeping car, so I might remove that from the train and see if it runs okay without it. But yeah, we now have a full circuit in the loft. So sadly that means the end to Bolton Trinity Road. We'll be going out there and starting to recover point work, electrics, some scenery items, but it all will have a new home and will live on up here in the loft. So that's where we're up to up here. It's going really, really well, and quite pleased with progress. This lighting doesn't really do anything for me. Today's video has been brought to you in part thanks to the generous donation of my fans on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Mark Anthony, Michael Churchwood, Mark McShane, Bob Threeton, Alec Ralph, Anthony Hunt, and William Wade. If you'd like to help support the show, head on over to patreon.com/JenniferKirk. Thank you. Today's video has been brought to you by my books, Bringing Home the Stars, Twinkle Little Star, and also you can get the complete comic collections of All Over the House, Books 1, Books 2, and also the wacky zany Life of Knob T. Mouse. Thanks, and catch you later.